I don't know how I don't know how I don't know how I'm going to film this video. If you've been following me for a while, you've seen that I was a little bit absent in a way the last 1.5 years, and I shared a few things, not much, and I was like, I'm gonna tell you guys soon, but here I am. It's been a while, but here I am, pregnant. And I don't know if this is the first or second video that I'm gonna post like after the announcement, after I've made the announcement on Instagram, but can you believe it? I'm gonna be mom. I'm so thankful and so happy. It almost feels too good to be true, to be honest. So give me one moment. I need to get my shit back together. Okay, I'm back. We're expecting a baby, Mao and I. And this past 1.5 years, I think, was one of the toughest things we've gone through together, Mao and I. And I think there wasn't much that was gonna make us closer, me and Mao, but this definitely did it. There's so much I want to share, so much with you. So much has happened, and I think that the main reason why I want to make this video is because fertility issues somehow is still not being discussed a lot. I think already more than before, but I still think that we can be talking about it so much more. Like, I don't want it to be taboo. And I think that I've personally watched some other videos and they've personally helped me, and I was like, I want to make my contribution. I wrote everything down just because it was in a way such a blur this past 1.5 years. So much has happened, it feels like a blur. I don't really remember the exact timeline of everything. I don't remember all the details, so I'm just gonna try to share my story, and forgive me if I say something wrong, or forgive me if I leave out some details. It's just so much that has happened and I don't know everything again anymore. Before I'm gonna go into it, I would just want to say that everyone's journey, of course, is different, and I'm not a doctor or a specialist. I would just want to tell my story, and in the end you have to talk to a fertility doctor or someone who really knows a lot about these things. I'm just gonna share my story. So keep that in mind, please. And then I think there are a few in general takeaways, and maybe it's good for me to discuss those at the end. So, you know, in the end, our journey to getting pregnant was 1.5 years, and some may say 1.5 years isn't even that long. It wasn't necessarily the 1.5 year that it took us that made me so stressed out. It was because I early on found out some things about my situation that really were something that I didn't expect it. So that's why that 1.5 year felt so long. I mean, if in the end someone would tell me like, you're gonna be pregnant in 1.5 years, I would not be stressed out. But it was more the question of, will I ever be pregnant, that stressed me out so much. Let's start. Mao and I, we've always wanted a family. I always saw myself as a mom, and I knew he would be the best dad. And as you may know, we've been traveling, I don't know, for 6 years non-stop. We did so many projects. We were both very ambitious, and we did so much. And we were actually already planning to slow down with traveling, because I was like, all that traveling is probably not good for my body. And you know, we work 24/7, so at one point we had to slow down a little bit, just because we wanted a family. That was like our priority. So we were already planning that, and then COVID hit the Netherlands, where I'm from, and that was around February, March of 2020. Am I correct? Yes. So all of a sudden we weren't traveling at all, right? So it was kind of like a weird coincidence that we were already planning to slow down, and then that came, or COVID came, and we just had no choice. So we were like, okay, then, you know, let's go for our family plans. I remember that with COVID though, I was kind of nervous because of what especially back then, you didn't really know what COVID was gonna mean. So I remember there was 1 month that we stopped trying just because I was a bit scared of the entire situation. Yeah, we were just gonna try, and our first month, you know, we tried. I don't know why, but in my head, I always thought that I was gonna be pregnant very quickly. So after the first month, I was like very positive, and I was like, okay, I'm probably pregnant now. And then I did the pregnancy test, and it came back negative, and I was like, sure, why not? That happens, right? Second month, tried it again, not pregnant. And then I saw this friend of mine who lives in LA, and she did a IGTV with this doctor from LA, this fertility doctor. And they were having a conversation about how actually most women don't know much about their fertility situation or their status, and that we as women, you know, we should be more proactive on that and knowing more about our situation. And I was like, you're so right, and I really want to do that. So I asked my friend to contact us, or to connect us, me and the fertility doctor. And you may wonder, why not a fertility doctor in the Netherlands? The Netherlands, unfortunately, is known for not having the best fertility doctors. So a lot of people actually go to Belgium, even for when they need treatments or whatever. So I was like, let's, if you can connect me, then we can talk about it. And then she did. Super nice fertility doctor, and he was like, super good that you're trying to be proactive. I want you to do these following tests, so you know more about your fertility situation. And he told me to do a blood test, and there were like all these hormones listed that I never heard of. Of course, I've heard of estrogen, progesterone, but I've never heard of LH, FSH, AMH, prolactin, and more. So there were so many things I needed to be tested on, and then he told me to do an ultrasound and some kind of genetic testing. So I was like, great, I'm feeling good about myself, I'm being proactive, and I like tested everything. And then the results came back, which was like a big bomb. So the results came back, and what stood out was that my AMH level was extremely low, and it was like a bomb that exploded. And I already noticed it before I had that follow-up conversation with this fertility doctor, but I somehow hoped that he was gonna get like my positivity back. And just for your understanding, and I don't want to get too technical here, but AMH is a hormone that's measured, I think, in your ovaries. Yeah. And it's produced by your follicles. So it simply says how many eggs you have left. And if you may know, I can imagine that not everyone knows, but they say when women are born, they are born with all their egg cells. And one egg is a potential baby, right, in a way. And the older you get, the less eggs you have. So your AMH basically says how many eggs you have left, which is an important, I think, which is an important indicator of your fertility. It's not everything, like it doesn't say everything about fertility, but it is being seen as something that's important. So just to give you an idea, and I wrote it down, when you look up the average AMH level per age, There are different statistics about this, but of a 20-year-old person or woman, your AMH is around 2.5. At the time I was 31, so because it was 2 years ago, I'm 33 now. So my AMH should have been 2.5, and the result came back as 0.18, which is nothing. Yeah, I remember I was like, oh, what? Is this maybe wrongly measured? So I ran another blood test and it came back exactly the same number, 0.18. And when we had the follow-up conversation with the fertility doctor, and I really hoped that he was going to, comfort me and be like, oh, these are the things you can do to make it better. So yeah, we had a conversation, and he told me, and that was, I think, the hardest thing to hear, is that your AMH will never increase. So this is it. It will actually only decrease, because as you get older, you get fewer eggs. And my ultrasound actually that I did already confirmed that my eggs, I had barely any eggs. And so he said, you know what, I'm sorry to tell you, but you're in a really bad situation, like your AMH is going to decrease even more. And I even looked it up, and they say that, when your AMH is extremely low, which mine was, it means that menopause is around the corner. And when menopause is around the corner, you know that you're never gonna get pregnant afterwards. So I was completely stressed out. I think I cried for a month straight, almost. And I was completely disappointed, like that idea of me being a mom and having that family with Maurits. It was just all gone, and it was so hard to wrap my head around it. He told me, he said to me, Negin, you have to come to LA right now. You don't have so much time left. You have to come to LA right now, and because he was known to be a very, very good fertility doctor, you have to come right now and we'll start treatment, because you still have a chance, although a low AMH is also bad for fertility treatment, because basically with like IVF, for instance, you need eggs to fertilize, and I didn't have, because I had so low, my AMH was so low, even fertility, even IVF was going to be so difficult for me. But he said, you know what, you have to take this chance, you have to come to LA right now, and we need to start treatments right now. And I was like, this was the start of COVID. I was worried about my parents also with COVID, and I was like, I cannot leave my family right now during COVID. I need to be with them. But he sort of gave me the feeling like I had to choose between becoming a mom or just stay with my family in the Netherlands, in a way. And he just really stressed me out so much, and like it was just super stressful to make that decision in a way, because I was like, how can I make that decision? How can I think I wasn't even allowed to go to LA back then. So, and he was like, yeah, maybe you can do a detour, but you have to come right now. And I was like, I'll do everything to become a mom, but I don't think I can leave right now. So that was a really tough decision, but Maurits and I said we're first, and even though like time was ticking in a way, that's how it felt. Like every month was a month that was a chance, and if that wouldn't happen, I would maybe hit menopause soon. So we still decided, now is not the right time to travel. We need to see how COVID is gonna go. And you know, let's first try to see if we can find a very good fertility doctor also in Europe. I do want to say though that I think he really, even though he stressed me out so much, he had my best interest in heart. I know that. Oh, and there was actually, you see, that's good why I wrote it down. There was actually something else that came out of the result. All the other results were good. And there was one more hormone that was too high. For me, that was my prolactin levels. And we didn't really talk about that with the fertility doctor. I just Googled it, and it said that one of the main reasons could be stress. And I was like, makes sense, you know, I'm a really stressed out person. I've been, and I know that on Instagram sometimes it may look like I've been on vacation for 6 years, but Maurits and I really worked like 24/7 for so many years, and it was, I think, pretty stressful. So, and I mean, it's a choice we made, so it's not like I'm trying to be sorry for myself, absolutely not. But I was like, oh, my stress levels are too high, and that could really impact your fertility as well. So I was like, okay, now I need to, you know, make this a priority, and I'm gonna slow down with work. There was even a month where I barely worked because I wanted to see what that would do. Sort of the journey began then that I wanted to research everything. I was on the internet nonstop, reading everyone's story. I was trying to see if my diet was good. Maybe I had to gain weight. I even gained weight. Just everything that I could do, like acupuncture, work out less. Everything I could do, I was trying out. Like I was in that phase where I would do everything to get pregnant, literally everything. We were like, you know, we're gonna try to find like a very good fertility doctor in Europe, and via we came in contact with a fertility doctor in Barcelona, and that summer we went to Ibiza, and also we could fly one day to Barcelona to meet with this fertility doctor. And he had like the completely opposite vibes of the fertility doctor from LA. He was actually really chill, and he told me that, Negin, don't worry, you're young, even though your AMH is low, you'll be pregnant. I'm not worried about it. And like it gave me hope, but then I was like, but how? My AMH is so low, like I could be hitting menopause within a few years, like how? But yeah, it was kind of interesting talking to him, and he put me on, and that was my first time I went on hormones. He put me on Clomid, which is like a cure, and it's like ovarian stimulation, if that's correct. Basically, it's a way to increase your eggs for that month, so it stimulates your ovaries. That I did that for 3 months, and like your belly would get bloated, and unfortunately no results from that. I knew that there was also so much other things we could be doing to see how my fertility status was. So I was like, okay, this is too far away also, Barcelona, let's try to find it even closer. I also heard a lot about, and I don't know how they say it in English, but endometriosis. And I just wanted to see if that is something, you know. Again, at this point, I was just trying to rule out everything, trying to check everything. If I had like endometriosis, and I went to like this hospital in the Netherlands, and they were sort of specialized on it. I had they had a look, and they said chances are very low that you have that. But she also said, you know, there's a fertility doctor in our hospital and you could talk to her. And even though I had heard so many negative stories about fertility doctors in the Netherlands, and that's why I didn't give it a try at the beginning, I was like, okay, maybe now is the point that I should be also giving that a try, right? Because imagine if there is a good fertility doctor in the Netherlands, then that would make my life so much easier. So we had this conversation. It was literally a 10-minute conversation. She didn't want to know anything about my situation, to be honest. She didn't want to hear my story. She was just like, let's start treatment. And Maurits and I were just sitting there, and we were so flabbergasted, and we were like, this is not the way that we want to be going into this fertility treatment. Because if you know, if that person doesn't want to know anything, and as I said, everyone's story is different, and I think that story is very important. So as a doctor, if you don't want to listen to it and don't want to do anything with it, then that's unfortunate. So we were like, okay, this is something, you know, that we sort of expected. We hoped for something different, but we were like, okay, no, that's also not it. I did these ultrasounds at this clinic in Amsterdam. It's called FEM, and the owner, Judith, really helped me out a lot with these ultrasounds, because I was going for an ultrasound almost every month to see how my eggs were, if I had more eggs. Like every month I was hoping that I had a few more eggs in my ovaries. And she really helped me out a lot. And at one point she told me that there was this amazing fertility doctor she heard of from other clients in Belgium, and she was known for getting everyone pregnant. And I was like, I need to go to her. This was, by the way, to give you a little bit of a timeline, this was in February of 2021. So this was a year later. Just so, yeah, we were already trying for a year. Okay, she was the opposite of the fertility doctor in the Netherlands, because she wanted to know everything. So she ran all the blood tests again, and she also wanted to check my, how do you say that? My uterus. By the way, if you don't know me, I'm not a native speaker, so there are also terms that I don't know in English. So she wanted to check my uterus, and she did a hysteroscopy. Basically with a camera, with a telescope attached to a camera, they go inside your uterus to check your uterus, because she explained to me that that's something that a lot of doctors don't look at, but oftentimes it could also really help with fertility, because I don't know, she explained that there are so many things that could be wrong with your uterus, and it's important to check that out. And I was like, sure, let's check it out. I was just so happy that she wanted to do more than only also the blood results. So we had that checked out. And the weirdest thing in a way is that at this point I was just hoping for them to find something. And not because I wanted something bad or wrong to be with my body, it's just that I would hope that they would find something that then they could resolve easily, and then my chances of getting pregnant would be like so much higher, you know. That was like my dream. But unfortunately they couldn't find anything, and don't get me wrong, again, like I'm happy that I didn't have something like really extremely bad. By the way, I want to mention also that Maurits also was being investigated, because as she said as well, you know, oftentimes it could be from the men's side as well. It doesn't have to be from us women only. So it's very important to get your partner checked out. And I was just so happy that Maurits, you know, he did everything with me, and he was open to doing everything. I'm just gonna lean like this a little bit more. It's a little bit less personal, but yeah. So my blood results came back, and as the previous blood results, everything looked fine, except for my AMH, of course. That was still very low. A little bit higher though than the last time. So it went from 0.18 to 0.3, which was already weird to me, because they said it was always going to be the same, and that number would never change. So I was already a little bit confused on that, but in the end it was still extremely low. And then my prolactin level came back as well, and it was still way too high. And I was like, that's weird. And she told me that, you know, it doesn't have to be stress. She told me to do an MRI to see if I had a prolactinoma, I think it is. And it is prolactinoma is a tumor on the pituitary gland, and those can be, so it's in your head, by the way, for those who don't know, and it can be small or big. It's usually benign, so not cancerous, just to clear that up. And the chances are very small that you have something like that, like very, very, very small. So I did the MRI in Amsterdam, and actually already straight after the MRI, the doctor brought me out to another room, and he said, we didn't see anything on the MRI, it all looks good. I am, just to be sure, going to show it to another doctor, but don't worry about it all, and we will send you another message just to confirm. So we were again, okay, nothing's going on. We're gonna continue to the next thing that we can try to see. So we told my fertility doctor that it wasn't prolactoma, and then the next step, because there wasn't anything much we could do by that time, was to do fertility treatment. So we started with IVF. She wanted me to do IVF because for my situation that was the best at that time. And again, please, this is my journey, so please talk to your doctor about your journey and what fits you best. This was what my doctor recommended me. And IVF to me was a big, how do you say that? Something big, something huge, something I really, really hoped I wouldn't have to do. Because I always had that image of injecting in your belly and the entire process of the egg retrieval and all the hormones that can make you really upset. And I was just like, oh my god, please don't make me do IVF. But of course, I would do everything to get pregnant. So we gave it a chance, and it was really emotional to do that. And I remember that the month before that, I was like, oh, I hope this is gonna be from a movie, where I'm gonna get pregnant the month before I have to do IVF. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. And I even filmed it when we did IVF. For me, those injections, and I had to do 6 a day? 5 a day? Morning and night. It was just such a big thing in my head that I felt so uncomfortable by. And this is so cute. I'll insert a picture, but it was going to the mail. We had all our medicines here, and then it was time for me the first time I did it. And I'll insert a clip, but I was so focused, and I wasn't even emotional because we were just so focused on it. But I was having a really, really hard time with this. The stimulation for me didn't really work, unfortunately. I still didn't have that many eggs. They retrieved the few that they could see. And again, this is not weird for someone with a low AMH. They tried to fertilize it. Unfortunately, no embryo came out, so I couldn't do an embryo transfer. And I was like, oh my god. Also IVF, I don't know if it's ever gonna happen. And I was so disappointed. Then after this, we remembered that the doctor who did our MRI he said, we will be in touch, we will send you another message just to confirm that you don't have a prolactinoma. We didn't hear anything from them, we suddenly realized. So we tried to reach them, and all of a sudden they did find something. It was really weird. So we're like, what? And he said, yeah, we found something very small, and it seems like you have a small prolactinoma in your head. So we were super confused that first they didn't find anything, and then all of a sudden I had that. So we told our fertility doctor, and she put me on medicines for that. But that was super weird. I looked a lot into like what prolactin could do for your hormones, but apparently it could affect a lot of hormones that are important for fertility, like your estrogen, your progesterone, your LH. You could like actually miss ovulating every month, and I was just like, I had short cycles, and that's also a thing. I think that, what I've learned about like fertility, I really, and that's so crazy to me, like I didn't know anything about it before I was getting into this process. Maybe I knew the super basics, but I was just like also realizing how much we actually read or get taught about this topic. And there's so much I've learned about like ovulation, about everything, and I was doing all these ovulation testing. I was reading books about how you can like measure by temperature when you're ovulating. So much that I've learned, and also about like how long your cycle should be, how long your follicular cycle period should be, and your luteal phase, follicle phase, your follicle phase and your luteal phase. I think those are the terms. So basically that prolactin level of mine and that thing in my and that tumor could mess up all my hormones. It gave me hope in a way, because I was like, okay, maybe that's the thing that is going to, save everything. The fertility doctor put me on meds. And so we were like, okay, we're gonna try for the next few months. We're gonna try to conceive in a natural way before we're gonna do IVF again. So that summer we wanted to do it natural. That was this summer, last summer, because we're already in 2022. I'm talking about 2021. That summer we wanted to try to conceive naturally, and then I think that in October we were gonna try to do another IVF round. There was also one more thing that I wanted to do, and I told my fertility doctor about that, and that is flush your fallopian tubes, because your egg travels through your fallopian tubes first. And I just wanted to be sure that mine were open. And she said, yeah, let's do it, let's check that out. So they flushed it, but they also went again in the fallopian tube and in the uterus with the camera again, just not only to flush it out, but also to see if there is something, and that was, let me see. Oh yeah, that was this time where I was at the hospital. And I remember laying there and being like, it's been over a year. I'm just in this hospital I was just done with it. This was really the phase where I was just like, I don't know how long more I can do it. It was ruling my life. I was living for it. And I know that isn't also good for fertility either, but I was just like giving up all my hopes. And this was sort of the last thing that we could do. So after they flushed it, the doctor came to me and he said that they didn't find anything in my fallopian tubes, that it was open. And again, in a way, I was disappointed because I was hoping that maybe it was closed and then now they opened it again. It was all, you know, and everything was going to be good again. I remember asking the doctor, like, do you sure you didn't find anything? He said, no, we didn't. Do you really know that you didn't find anything? And he was like, no, I'm sorry, we really didn't. He said, but you know, there are very, very small things that we cannot see on the camera. So he said, you never know. This definitely could have helped to increase your chances. And he said that after this procedure in general, you have a 10% higher chance of getting pregnant. That's what he told me. Afterwards, also ran another AMH, another blood test to see if my AMH also maybe went up because of the prolactin medicines, because I do saw at the ultrasound that I had more eggs all of a sudden. So I was like, I didn't know if it was still from the IVF treatment, but that was already months ago, so I didn't think it was because of that. So I ran another blood test with my fertility doctor, and my AMH level, which is super weird, came back 6 times as high, which for my age is still low, but it's not extremely low. It was definitely like more, and I was like, huh? And with my fertility doctor, I said, could this be because of the medicine? Was like my prolactin levels interfering with my AMH? And because it's widely known, I guess, under fertility doctors that your AMH cannot change, it cannot increase. She was super confused. She was also like, that is weird. But it was good news for me, because now it was still something, you know. And also what I started to do was going to an osteopathy. I did osteopathy, which is like more of an alternative kind of medicine, I guess, where this guy was explaining how we would like, I don't know, you have to search it up exactly what they do, but my sister really insisted for me to try it because she knew good stories about other women who got pregnant in that way. So after flushing the fallopian tubes, Maurits and I said, I think we wanted to try 1 or 2 months of conceiving naturally, and otherwise we would do IVF again. And so the cycle after, we went to Paris Fashion Week, actually. That was then in September, end of September, I guess. And I was doing, as usual, the ovulation test. Oh, I had an estrogen peak of 2 days, which I normally had 1, so I was like super excited. And I was like, okay, maybe, you know, maybe this month. But I knew that I was gonna get disappointed, because to be honest, like every cycle I was like positive again and hoping that it was gonna happen, and then you did the pregnancy test and it was like the biggest disappointment. And then you had to try to find that positivity from somewhere again to like go for it for another month, and that went on like every month. So I knew that I wasn't gonna get pregnant, but still, you know, you had to have hope in a way. So we came back after Fashion Week, and I was gonna get my period in 2 days, and I was like, let's do a pregnancy test. And I went 10 minutes later to have a look, and I was like, huh? Am I seeing a small line, or am I imagining this? I honestly thought that I didn't see it correctly, and I called Maurits. And I said, Mau, can you come? And he came, and he didn't even know I was going to do a pregnancy test. I didn't even tell him. It was so standard that I was doing them. And he came, and I said, do you see something? And he said, yeah, I do. He was so happy. And I was so happy as well, but I was still like very cautious because it wasn't really obvious. and it was really early, of course, as well. This was 2 days before I was gonna get my period, so I was like, is this really happening? And he was so excited, and I was like, let's not be too excited because I don't want you to be disappointed. So I wanted to do another pregnancy test first thing in the morning, the next day, because I knew that then your pregnancy hormone would be more. So I was that entire night, so I had to wait. I was not able to sleep at all. I didn't sleep for a minute. I woke up the next morning while Maudis was still asleep. It was very early, and I did another pregnancy test, and it said 1 to 2 weeks. And I woke him up with the news. We were so excited. But still, I was really trying to not be too excited because, you know, so much can still happen. And it also felt too good to be true. But that was how we found out we were pregnant. So maybe it's hard to say what the reason exactly was. Was it because of the fallopian tubes? Was it because of my prolactin levels that were better? Was it because of the osteopathy? Maybe all combined. That's my story. And we're really happy. I'm now at 17 weeks almost. And it still feels too good to be true. When I look back at everything in this period, I'm just like, oh, I'm just so happy that I'm out of it. And I still hope that everything is going to continue to be right. And I know this is a very long story. And as I said, you know, everyone's story is different. But there are a few takeaways that I wrote down that I think are very important for, you know, if you're trying to conceive, or if a friend of yours is trying to conceive. I think always, you know, do your research. As I was saying, everyone's different, and unfortunately, I think that, well, not unfortunately, I think in everything in life you have to do your own research and you know, just try to see if there are things that you could be doing different maybe. So I'm always a person with everything I do. I love to do research. I do my own research, and that's something that I think is key in this situation. Next is don't talk to just one fertility doctor and just take everything, you know, what they say, because fertility doctors are still very different, and you need to find, I think, someone that wants to hear your story and wants to find out things that, you know, could be wrong, like doing all these, you know, this fertility doctor in Belgium did all these things with me, and I think that's the way it's supposed to be. You have to check out your entire fertility situation. It's not just, oh, your AMH, for example, is low, so chance of getting pregnant is low, let's do IVF right now. Because I could have been maybe doing IVF 10 more times and not being pregnant if I didn't know that I had this prolactoma in my on my pituitary gland. So talking to more fertility doctors, and especially finding that one who really wants to do that research with you, is really, really important, I think. Even before you want to start doing treatments. And then one takeaway that I really haven't talked about that much was to talk to people around you. And I could be saying that, but you know, I was talking to my mom and sister about this. At a certain point, I told my dad as well. But it was actually really hard for me to talk about it with others, because on the one hand, it really relieved me. So that's why I'm trying to encourage people to talk about it with others. But on the other hand, it was really difficult for me to talk about it with my mom and sister, because I knew they were feeling that pain for me. I see that my battery is low. So I didn't want to make them sad in a way. And also I didn't, because it was so hard to talk about it. And it was already ruling my life, that every time I would talk about it with someone, I would feel horrible again. So I just tried to avoid it. And my mom and my sister really tried to, you know, give me space and everything. But I knew they were very curious, like every month, like, did you carried your period or not, but they give me a lot of space. At a certain point I told my dad, and he's more of tough love, and I love it when he's like, you have to be positive, everything's gonna go well. But I knew that he was having a really difficult time. Like, I think he didn't sleep for weeks because, you know, he says when I cry, and then he feels horrible. So yeah, I'm just so thankful for my family and my friends. But you know, sometimes it also makes things easier when you talk about it with people, because for instance, well, for you, those of you who follow me on Instagram, some of you have known me for like 7 years or 10 years, and all of a sudden I was absent. What I was trying to say, talk to people, it was for the people who didn't know in my surroundings, for instance, people at the office, my team. It was really hard because, you know, when they don't know, they also don't know what you're going through, and sometimes sharing what you're going through makes it easier also for yourself and for them to understand maybe also why you're being a bit more distant, and sharing this information like women amongst each other. Okay, this was a super long video. I think I have a footage of 1 hour, so I'm gonna try to make it maybe like 45 minutes. I also don't want to skip on things, but thank you so much for listening if you made it to the end, and if not, it's also fine. I mean, maybe there are a few women that this video could help, and I'm already happy for that. Again, don't, you know, maybe I've left some details out because so much has happened. Yeah, thank you for watching, and I can't believe I'm becoming a mom.